Okay, so let's deal with this because there might be some folks out there that are looking in here and they're saying, well, how did you learn to do these things? One, and I would say, and I think we have something that we'll end up showing on the screen here, regarding in 1979, I think it was, you were charged in New York City with practicing medicine without a license. You were ultimately charged, indicted, and taken before the New York Supreme Court. And I would advise my viewers who might be questioning your authenticity that you won that case. Now, so the charge was practicing medicine without a license and claiming that you had a remedy to cure AIDS, cancer, and diabetes. So the question is, how did you win that case against what some people say are the toughest prosecutors in the land?
Well, it was 1987.
87, not 79, 87.
The 10th of February.
Okay.
My mother knew they were coming. When I told my mama that I had cured my 13 AIDS patient, she said, "They gonna get you. They gonna get you."
So let me stop you there. You said I cured my 13 AIDS patients.
Yeah.
So you had 13 patients
Yeah.
who had AIDS.
Yeah.
And then you say you cured them.
Sure.
Keep talking.
So my mother said, "They're going to get you." I said, "But Mom, why are they going to get me?" Because you must remember that you live in a society that supports a certain philosophy and a certain system. You being the color that you are, black, and then you're going against the grain, they're going to get you. So when I'm in my office on February the 10th, here come the detectives. You are charged with practicing medicine without a license, selling product not approved by the FDA, and claiming to cure AIDS and other diseases. Mm-hmm. I said, yes. Well, you are making a fraudulent claim. Mm-hmm. I asked the detective, how do you know that?
Because you were advertising in newspapers.
Of course. I advertised in the Village Voice, the Amsterdam News, and the New York Post.
And you were telling people through your advertising that you can cure
AIDS, sickle cell, lupus, herpes, blindness, diabetes, paralysis, and others.
Okay, so they come knocking on the door and
so knocked on my door and took me to jail. But the funny thing about it, I was happy. I was very, very, extremely happy. When everybody in my office was crying, I was happy because my mama told me they were coming. And I knew that I had sufficient evidence to prove my position, not only scientifically, empirically, historically, and whatever way they would desire. So while I was in jail, I'm saying, I wonder what defense they would have against me.
Yeah.
I would like to know. But I didn't blame the Attorney General, Mr. Robert Abrams, because why should he accept from me the statement that I cure AIDS and sickle cell and blindness when no one else has ever made those claims? The man had a right to arrest me, but he was making a mistake. So I'm sitting in jail, and I'm happy. When I got out of jail and when I went in front of the judge, I asked 3 questions.
And they were?
They were, Your Honor.
You defended yourself?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Your Honor, is it a fact that the Holy Bible teaches that the herbs are for the healing of the nations? She said, yes. Is it a fact that science shows that the human body is carbon-based, and to complement a carbon-based body, you must have a carbon-based substance to complement it, because the body only accepts a substance through the process of chemical affinity. Chemical affinity is important. It's an electrical transport. Chemical affinity.
Okay.
The body could only accept what it is made of, not something new or alien to it. Last question. Your Honor, is it a fact that the father of medicine, Mr. Hippocrates, the man that established the principle of medical science today, cured every disease known to man? Did he use herbs or chemicals? She said, herbs. I said, thank you very much. I rest my case.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I understood that the state were unprepared to defend itself. They were unprepared because in the past there was 2,781 cases that came before the Supreme Court and lost.
Yeah.
I won.
Yeah.
Not only did I prove scientifically, but I had the diagnostic sheets, and I do have them today. And those diagnostic sheets didn't come from me. They came from their school, their American medical accredited school.
Did I read it correctly where there was some requirement for you to actually bring patients, a patient into court from each of those maladies, and that you brought multiple patients in court who, one, testified themselves, and that you had medical records, one showing that they were victims of the disease, and then showing that it had been cured by one doctor, and then a second doctor verifying what the first doctor had said?
Yes. We have to remember this, that whenever you make a statement that goes against the grain, you better be prepared. You better be prepared. The judge said that I had to bring one of every patient that I had cured, and there was one that said others. The others was a man that came from Italy. He was paralyzed. But I was supposed to take 9. I took 77.
You took 77 patients in court with you?
That's correct. But I knew that my brain was not the same as your brain or any other brain, right? We're unique.
Yeah.
So when I make a statement, they're going to take my statement and pit it against philosophy. It doesn't fit. I represent an entity that isn't philosophical.
And that entity is?
Well, it is an African one. I'm an African. And we have to remember that. You see, we think that we could take a philosophy out of Europe or China and inculcate that into the African brain. It does not resonate. It cannot resonate. You cannot be yourself when you've been adulterated. Being that I am an African, I'm going to look at things the African way. And the African way seems to reduce things to the least common denominator. And guess what I found? That there's only one disease, not 2, not 3, 1. When I opened my big black mouth and told the judge that, oh my God. What did you say? I said, Your Honor, there's only one disease.
And what is
Could
that?
you substantiate that?
Okay.
Of course, I'm not going to just deploy a bunch of empty words. I represent a country. I represent a people. I represent a race. And I represent myself. I'm not going to undermine myself. There's only one disease. The judge said, what is it? I said, you already know. She said, try me. It was a woman, Ann Feldman. I said, Your Honor, when someone has sinusitis, what is obstructing the nasal passage? She said, mucus. And when another has bronchitis, what is obstructing the bronchial tubes? She said, mucus. And when another has pneumonia, what's covering the cells of the lungs? She said, mucus. Dr. Victor Herbert, who is defending the state of New York, jumped up and said, what about AIDS? You and your one disease theory? I said, Your Honor, this doctor is saying that I believe in a theory. I am the last individual on earth that could believe in a theory. I do not lend myself to theories or philosophy. Either I know or I don't know.
Okay.
He's talking about theories.
Yeah. You talking about the real deal.
I'm talking about reality, not theories, not philosophy.
So please share with this.
So she said, and what about AIDS?
Yeah.
I said, well, he asked about what about AIDS? He want to know where the mucus. I said, Your Honor, have you been to an AIDS ward? She said, yes. I said, what is it that the AIDS spits up every 5 minutes? She said, mucus. Where is the mucus? It's in the skin, it's in the blood, and the lymphatic system that makes up the immunological system. That is where you find the mucus, Mr. Victor Herbert. How could you agree with, how can you disagree with truth? You see, what happened, I didn't go to school. I have never been to school. I have never attended any school, kindergarten, grade school, high school, or anything. But I had parents that kept me anchored to the African way, not to the Chinese way, not to the European way, not to the Japanese way. I am an African.
Were your patients all of color?
No, no. I have patients that are white. I have more white patients than I have black.
Okay, so this scourge that, has just run rampant, through the world, AIDS. Can you walk us through as much as you can a step-by-step process where you have a patient that has AIDS and you do XYZ or ABC, and then the patient no longer has AIDS? Can you walk us through that?
Of course. When the first patient was a brother in Boston named Michael White, and a sister, she's from D.C. Her name is, oh boy, I forgot her name right now.
Okay.
But she told me, she said, Dr. Sebi, my brother-in-law brother has AIDS in Boston. So what do you do? I said, well, I must send him the compound. The compound that I made were made to cleanse the cells. They come in the category of phosphates, carbonates, iodides, and bromides. Now we are entering the science of biochemistry. These are food and vitalizers. I remove from the man's diet lactose, uric acid, and carbonic acid, milk, starches, and meat. By removing these things from his diet and then cleansing his cells, he began to see recovery in 24 hours. And so it went. They kicked him out of the hospital 2 weeks later. Memorial Hospital in Boston, Dr. Bonanno. Then there was a young man in D.C. Zelma Peterson is her name. Zelma Peterson.
Yeah.
She was the one that introduced me to my second AIDS patient, and from then it was all the way alive.
Okay. Now, you have documented.
I got proof now.
You have proof.
Books with the documents in it, diagnostic sheets.
Yeah. And the medical world still puts out that you are a quack, you're a crazy man, you're not credentialed, and that you run scams on people. But you have documented proof of healing people. Now, I know that you have you reference a compound in Honduras. You also operate out of you operate out of
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles also. So when you get a patient now, do you if you have a DC patient, does that DC patient need to go to LA or Honduras? Or?
No, no, we treat them. In fact, we send 1,000 packages a day throughout the world right now. Israel, Hong Kong, China, Russia. We have people in the village now from Russia. We have people from all over the world. We send packages all over the world. You don't have to even be in Honduras. But it is good to go to Honduras because the thermal waters are there.
Yeah.
And they accelerate the process of healing once you immerse your body in it and you drink it.
You speak of Honduras.
Now, about the medical science saying that I'm a quack,
Yeah.
I do not blame medical science for making that statement because my race has never done anything on that level of endeavor to express itself able to cure diseases on that level, in other words. So, sure, I'm a quack, but I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
What I was concerned with, not medical science, because I know that they're the one that is violating. I am not the violator. Hippocrates did not establish the school of medicine by using chemicals because the chemicals cannot assimilate. A chemical cannot assimilate with the human body. An herb can because they are electrical.
Okay.
Herbs are electrical, and we have yet to understand that. I was concerned with the black leadership of America, not medical science. When I had cured these people of sickle cell and lupus and herpes and blindness, I was happy. I said, now I could go to all the leaders. I could go to Minister Farrakhan. I could go to Jesse Jackson. I could go to Al Sharpton. I could go to Oprah Winfrey. But what I found out, I was mistaken. I was wrong. They are not interested in the healing of any black people.
That's an explosive claim.
That is not an explosive statement. That is a reality. There isn't a black leader in America that is interested in the health of the black race.
Do you say that because they refuse to interact with you?
They are not in the position to respond. If they were, my first case of AIDS was cured in 1984. Yeah. And since then, we've been curing people of lupus and herpes and cancer and blindness. Not one black leader ever said, well, let us help the brother.
That you just mentioned what some people in hushed tones refer to as the C word, cancer. I have friends right now that have been victimized by that scourge of a disease. Two fairly close to me who have been going through chemotherapy. We just recently had the lieutenant governor from the state of Maryland, and the governor of Maryland has cancer, and he's been going through chemotherapy treatments, and he talked about how devastating those treatments were. So you obviously don't treat with chemo. Why is it wrong for a cancer patient to be treated with chemotherapy?
Chemotherapy is an approach that destroys cells. Chemotherapy doesn't distinguish between good cells and bad cells. It destroys cells. It's an acid approach.
What kind of approach?
Acid.
Oh, acid approach, okay.
My approach is an intracellular cleansing. What causes disease in the first place? An acid condition. Well, let us sweep it out. Let us find the plants that are consistent with cleansing. You see, we just begin to wake up. We just begin to realize that we are way in a deep deficit.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that we have never spent time in analyzing or even trying to understand the difference in our genetic predisposition. We have never understood the science of biochemistry. All of the folks that have came to us, they came to us with history, bunch of history, a lot of religion, a lot of philosophy, but none of them came with a food that would help me to live as healthy as I possibly can. Look carefully. We're not going to make excuses no more. Mm-hmm. Because if we continue to make excuses, we're going to go deeper into the deficit. Mm-hmm. Just recently, a report came out that the Christian diet need to be examined, re-examined. Because in the Christian diet, you have people eating hog, potatoes, rice, and beans. Yeah. But if we take this substance to a biochemist, he's not going to find any food in any of these substances. So why do we eat these things? Then we get sick. I always use that black woman in the jungle. For some reason, she keeps showing up. This black woman in the jungle keeps showing up as setting the standards and raising the bar. Why?
Tell me what you refer to when you say this black woman in the jungle.
Oh, I mean, this woman was the woman that set the standards. This woman didn't die because of disease. She didn't have any hospitals in the jungle. She didn't have any doctors. She didn't have any medicine. That's why Hippocrates said that your medicine should be your food, or your food should be your medicine. Mm-hmm. Because the African people didn't have a doctor. Mm-hmm. They didn't need him. Yeah. Because they didn't have any of the substance that would violate the biology of the individual. So how long did they live? Do you and I know how long those Africans lived in the forests of Africa before the chemical people came? Furthermore, my mama wasn't naked. She was natural. Because to say that my mama was naked in the forest is to say that God made clothes.
It's clearly visible, these were tools in their plan to slay us. And with chemical weapons like skunk and crack, they got the future for many of us on the raps. We need a change, cause positivity is hardly seen. That's why I'm down with the UK RBGs.
Vaccination. For my people of the new and the ancient.